What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your man Chaz Ellis once again. And I'm going to be talking about the fall of the masculine man, the casualties of progress. What do I mean by that? The casualties of progress. Now, some of y'all may not be familiar with this, but every time we have a major shift or major change in our society, people get left behind. As a matter of fact, most of the people get left behind. And that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight and what you can do about that, whether you are a man or a woman, just from your own personal situation. Now, what I want y'all to do is hit that like button right away. Make sure you hitting that like button. Just bing, 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 bing. Keep popping that like button. All right. So before we even get started, everybody hit the like button. Also, if you want to ask questions as the chat goes on, make sure you hit the super chat feature that's down at the bottom. That's the button with the cash sign. Also, if you just want to support the chat, because you should support it. Otherwise, how can I continue to do it, right? If you want to support, you can just send a sticker by hitting that happy face button that's in the bottom right corner also. So make sure you do that too. So what am I going to be talking about tonight? I'm going to be talking about the fall of the masculine man. Now, a lot of you ladies that are on here and a lot of you fellas that are on here know exactly what I'm talking about, but you may have your own perspectives. So a lot of women are like, well, what happened to the man who would ask you out? What happened to the man that had a plan? What happened to the man that knew what he wanted? What happened to the man that would plan dates instead of saying, what's up? You want to come chill? What happened to that? A lot of men are like, what happened to my ability to ask out a woman that I liked without fear of getting in trouble? What happened to my ability to assert myself without being called toxically masculine or being called a misogynist? What happened? What happened to my ability to be the man that I want to be? Well, this is societal changes. Whenever society makes a change, a lot of people get left out in the cold. I'm going to liken it to something that may be a little controversial to you guys, but it's a real thing. I want you guys to think about the civil rights movement and integration, right? And this will give you an understanding of everybody. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. I see a lot of people in here who ain't hitting that like button. Hit that like button as soon as you get on. Click that real quick as I keep going. All right, make sure you clicking that like button. Just all up in it. Likety like. Also, send some stickers out to your boy, man. Make sure y'all support this because I'm going to give you this real game. Straight, no chaser. No hating on anybody, no pandering. I appreciate you. Who sent that? Thank you, Mariah Beautiful. I'm gonna hit you up and start after I go through for a second, I'm gonna start getting you getting these questions. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So what happens? This happens a lot in our society. I liken it to integration. What's happened with men and women is a lot like what happened in integration. So you had integration, which basically before you had segregation, you had oppression and things of that nature. But as integration came, there was a positive for some and there was a negative for some. A lot, as a matter of fact. Now, this is something that people don't know. Whenever we look at the civil rights movement and we see the riots at the Woolworths, we see sit-ins, we see these types of things. We go, yeah, see, people were fighting for their rights. But what we often don't think about is who gets left behind in that scenario. So for people who are, I'm going to give a brief synopsis for people who are not familiar. There was a time where a black person could not go sit down at a lunch counter at a Woolworths, right? People fight for these types of things, and then all of a sudden you can. But who did you never think about? Did you ever think about the person who had a lunch counter that was right next to the Woolworths? What about the black dude that operated a lunch counter that was right next to the Woolworths? What about him? He went out of business. That's what happened. I want you to think about this and look at the time period. How many people do you really think could afford to sit down and have a meal? Black people, especially because of the financial situation. And my dad was actually living in Demopolis, Alabama around this time. And he was like, most people couldn't even afford to go in there and eat. So it's funny because that's a part of the story that nobody ever tells. What happened to the people who couldn't even afford to eat at that lunch counter anyway? What happened to the people who who had a business and their business went out because of integration? What happened to all the people who are teaching at these black schools? I'll tell you what happened. They suffered from brain drain. They suffered from all of their best students going from the segregated school to the integrated school. Now you have lower education and you don't have people to bounce ideas off of. Also, look what happened to the neighborhoods. You had neighborhoods that were segregated that had black doctors, lawyers, business professionals. Now those neighborhoods became poor black neighborhoods because obviously when you integrated, the black folks that could move out did. Now, how does this correlate to what we're talking about now? The same thing is true. When you look at the fall of masculine men and you look at the progress that we've made, obviously there was going to be progress for certain people, but not for everybody. The progress has been made in the feminist movement has been made for those who could get the highest paying jobs and those who were not necessarily interested in being married to men. These are the people who have benefited. And of course, like in everything else in life, everybody else got left out in the cold. Women were not fighting for the right to be a janitor. They were fighting for the right to be a congresswoman. They were fighting for a right to be a lawyer, to be a doctor, to be an engineer. Nobody was fighting for the right to be on fries at McDonald's. But the reality is that's where most women were left. This is what we're dealing with. Whenever a change comes, everybody's all, yay, we should do it. But what you never think about is who's at the forefront of the change? Who's at the forefront of any change? It's normally the people who are the educated class, who's a little bit above everybody else. So when you look at the civil rights movement, you look at who's at the forefront of the civil rights movement, where even if you look at your Martin Luther Kings and people of that nature, most of the time what you're dealing with is somebody who's out of college, actually comes from a pretty good family. And when the benefit comes down, they're in a position to benefit. But those other people who are pig farmers and things of that nature, they're not in a position to benefit. A lot of women wanted progress, but what they really ended up getting were fewer options in men. They were like, we wanted progress. We want to get to be Oprah, but you didn't get to be Oprah. You're a secretary. And now they can pay you less money because they got male secretaries too. The workforce is flooded. It's double the people in the workforce. So here's what you get left with. People didn't think about that. They did what they said was helping out children. And they made it to where now you got people who can cheat with your husband and still be entitled to child support. So where does this leave men? It leaves men in a situation where now when you try to be masculine, you're mostly falling on deaf ears. Most women are not in a situation where they even want to receive a masculine man, even though they feel like they want that because of what they have been conditioned to do throughout their lifetime. Here's an example. Say your 8-year-old daughter comes up to you and says, "Mommy, Daddy, I want to be a housewife." Daddy is most likely going to be the first one to tell her, "No, you need to be a lawyer. You need to be a doctor. You need to be something like that." He's not going to embrace that and try to teach her to be the best housewife she can be, or have mommy help her learn to be the best housewife she can be. He's going to reject that. Now, 10, 15 years go by, 20, 30 years go by, I guess 20 years go by. These same people are going to be mad because their daughter's not married. They're going to be mad because they don't have any grandkids. They're going to be mad because they're not getting out of their daughter what they feel like they should get. But you're not telling her what she needs to know in order to give you the things that you want. How is she going to give you grandkids when she doesn't know how to get a man who would support those children? She knows how to support those children by herself. She doesn't know how to get a man who will help her support those kids. So what this does to your son, who you're saying, "Hey, I want you to get married. I want you to settle down, have a wife. I want you to be the leader of your household." Who's he going to lead? Who wants to settle down and get married to him? Who wants to have children by him at a young age? So now you have this person you might be trying to teach to be a masculine man, but unfortunately, he's not in a position where he can really do that because he doesn't have a woman to be masculine with. So now you get a situation where you have two people who are constantly at odds with each other, because this is progress. We got women in the workforce. We got some semblance of equality, I guess. But ultimately, what was lost is the ability to create a family structure. This is why marriage is on the decline. This is why people are having less children, because people have no ability to connect with each other anymore, because that's not what it's about. Everybody's about out to get theirs. Men are like, "Yo, I got to get mine. I got to get my money right. I got to get my good job. I got to get my nice car. I got to get my nice house." Women are doing the same. So where does the masculinity kick in? Also, because of that, you have so many people who are speaking for the masses who are not necessarily wanting the same thing that the masses want. Most women want to be married. They do. Most women want to have children. They do. Most women want to have, which pretty much will add up to a traditional relationship or marriage. But those are not the women who are going to be on your television shows, your podcast. Those are not the women who are going to be represented. So when men look and they see what women want, they constantly see combative. They constantly see women who are just in it for money. They constantly see women who see men as a tool, because that's what society puts out there. Women who want something different are not entertaining. So therefore, they don't get any kind of shine. So now when you have men who are masculine, men who are leaders, men who are providers, men who are protectors, they often don't want to get with a woman. They often don't want to be in a relationship because they don't see a benefit in it for themselves. They see, "Oh, well, this is what's being presented to me. This is what's being projected, is women who only want to take and only want to use and only want to abuse. And then here's a system that's set up for them to be able to do it." This is how it goes. So now when you look for your masculine man, you look for your protector, you look for your provider, you look for somebody who's going to be there for you and your children, you don't see anybody. And the reason why you don't see anybody is because that person has been called toxically masculine by somebody who doesn't want to get married, doesn't want the traditional marriage that you want. That person has been called a misogynist by somebody who doesn't want the traditional marriage, who doesn't want the children, who doesn't want the role that you want. So this becomes a conditioning that leaves no men for you to be able to marry, and no women to get for those men who are left to get married to. And even when they do try to get married and do try to connect with each other, there's a system that incentivizes giving up on those relationships. So this is why we have what we have. All right, I'm going to take a break from this and I'm going to go into answering some questions. Hit the super chat feature if you want your question answered. I'm not going to be on real late tonight, so make sure you get in there early. Okay, I'm going to hit Mariah. Beautiful. You were the first one. Everybody else, make sure you kick in. Make sure you hit that super chat feature. Use a sticker if you just want to support the chat, which you should. Okay, let's see. I broke up with my man to get ahead of the situation. He was acting distant. He went off, which I wasn't expecting. He said some really ugly things. What does this mean? How do I move going forward? Well, whenever you try to get ahead of a situation by making a move, you often screw yourself. If the person is being distant, if the person isn't giving you everything you want and everything you're looking for at that particular moment, a lot of times it's better to just ask why. And to really try to get into it, first ask yourself why. Hey, are we having good interactions when we do talk? I mean, good interactions that they would consider to be good. Are we having great moments with each other when we do spend time together? Moments that they would consider to be good? Those are the first things you need to ask yourself. Am I doing what this person said they wanted in the beginning of the relationship? Or have I veered? Or am I not really providing what the person said that they wanted in the beginning of the relationship? That's the first thing you do. Then you talk to them. You say, hey, seems like, we kind of not really connecting with each other like we used to. Is there a reason for that? Can you kind of give me, I'm trying to understand what's up. And then you guys talk to each other and work from there. But since you didn't do that, it kind of, you're kind of already in this position. We're going to work from where you are. When you break up with somebody, the chances of them saying really ugly things are pretty high. They shouldn't do it because it's not the move, but hurt people generally try to hurt people. So when you dump the guy, you can expect for anything to come out. I wouldn't necessarily take that emotionally, but I would try to see if the person's actions match up if we do talk again. So if you want to talk to this guy again, which it seems like that's what you do because you said, what do I do going forward? Well, that's something that you guys need to address. Address how you broke up and why. Listen to what he actually has to say. Listen to actually understand and hear. Don't listen just to talk. Listen to what he actually has to say and figure out if you guys can come to a common ground. Figure out but if you're going to do that, you got to let bygones be bygones. All the stuff that dude said or whatever you said or whatever you did, y'all got to let that go if you want to keep moving forward. But ultimately, if you want to make a connection with this dude again, hit him up. Say, hey, I would like to see if we can talk about things and see if we can move forward. Figure out where his head is at. Ask him exactly what was making him be distant. Tell him why you did what you did. And then see if you can move from there. I got a question for the chat now. Do you think that marriage works in 2021? Thumbs up if you do. Thumbs down or what they got? We'll do sad face if they don't. If you don't. I'm gonna be able to check that out and see what y'all think. Does marriage work for 2021? So what we see a lot of as far as fewer masculine men connecting with women, what we see a lot of is we see people who are at odds with each other and people who are trying to occupy the exact same role in the exact same space. We see men and women trying to be in the exact same space all the time. Most of the time, what you're looking at is a woman who's saying, I want to work. I want to be the leader of the household along with this man. I want to make decisions. You see a man is saying the exact same thing. And since they're both trying to do the exact same thing and occupy the same space, we usually end up at an impasse. We usually end up with two people who are fighting constantly, arguing constantly until they finally break up. When you see a man get married and a woman get married, normally you're waiting for the divorce to happen. Why is that? This is because, first of all, divorce has been incentivized. You have no fault divorce, which means you can just say, hey, I woke up, I didn't want to be married to this person anymore. It's a wrap. Irreconcilable differences. You have a society that pretty much accepts the fact that marriages fail. You have payouts that are given to whoever has the least amount of money. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's the woman, but it's really given to the person who has the least amount of money. This is what you have. So when people get married, most people are looking for the marriage to end at some point. Most people are like, when they getting divorced. Because you have people who have no real connection and no real need to stay together. This is what happens when people occupy the same space. If both of y'all have a job, both of y'all have a 401k, both of y'all have the money to pay for houses and things of that nature, and both of y'all got to cook, both of y'all got to clean up, at the end of the day, in a real way, what reason do you really have to stay together? In a real way, not just the emotional bond that connects you. Because now this is what everybody's doing. It's the fairy tale Disney love thing. And that's a feeling. What used to get people through when the feeling would kind of go up and down is need. Everybody actually occupied a real role in real space. So what do we do now to make it to where relationships make sense? For ladies that say, hey, I want a masculine man. Well, first of all, you got to be real with yourself about what a masculine man is and expect him to be that all the time. So let's go into what a lot of women would say. Not all, but let's see what a lot of women would say. A lot of women would say, I want a leader. I want somebody who's not wishy-washy. I want somebody who's going to call me and make a plan. I don't want somebody that's going to be like, what we doing tonight? We chilling. Most women will say, I don't want that. I want someone who's a leader. They may not want a leader all the time, but they say, I want a leader. Most women want somebody who is going to protect. So they want somebody who, if the burglar is downstairs, that dude goes down there and fights off the burglar. I used to be a police officer. I cannot remember one story where the woman said, yeah, I went down there to fight the burglar off. My husband was just laying up here asleep, chilling. Women don't generally want that. I'm not saying all, but for the most part, you can't convince me that you want a dude that you have to protect. Most women want somebody who can provide, right? Want someone who is capable of providing. Even if they want to provide also. Even if she says, yo, we gonna split the bills 50-50, I'm down with that. You still want someone who can provide for himself and his half of what he does for the kids. Nobody is out here saying, yeah, I want to get married to a dude and I want to take care of him for the rest of my life. Not, I'm with a guy who's ambitious and one day he'll be rich. No. No woman is out here talking about I want to get married to a dude and take care of him for the rest of my life. For the most part. Obviously, there are going to be one or two exceptions, but for the most part, that's not what anybody wants. So, you want somebody who is going to be a leader. This is the problem that we run into when we talk about having a masculine man. If you look at leadership as being one of the traits of masculinity, then you have to want someone who's a leader all the time, not just when it's convenient for you. So date time comes and you say, hey, I want a man that's going to make a plan. I want a man that's going to take me out. I want a man that's going to have it all together and know exactly what he wants to do. I ain't trying to chill. I ain't trying to be, just winging it. I want a man that makes a plan. I want a leader. Well, then you can't turn back around and say, we're about to plan a trip. He's planning a trip. He's telling me this is where we're going. This is what we're going to do. And now you get mad. This is some things that we're going to do in our future. He's telling me this is what we're going to do and this is our plan. Now you're mad. But you said you wanted a leader. You said you wanted somebody who was going to figure out what was best for the group and be the person who makes that happen. Be the person who dictates what's going to happen next. You liked that when it was benefiting you. But now it's toxic masculinity because it's not. If that's going to be your situation, then you're never going to have a masculine man because you don't really want one. Because when you say this is a trait of masculinity, it's a trait of masculinity, period. Whether it's working in your favor or not working in your favor, it's a trait of masculinity. It's not just when it's working in your favor. You say you want a man who is going to protect. Well, you may do things that you like to do, but he may see as being dangerous. And if the burglar is downstairs, you want him to jump on that burglar. Right? Jump on that burglar and go help me out. Defend me. But if you out here out of pocket with another man or in a situation where you're jumping up on another dude or it may not even be that serious, but it may be to where you may be doing something that might cause a conflict, or maybe you might be going out a little late for what he feels like you should. Whatever the case may be, now when he tries to protect you by telling you, no, you can't do this, you don't like it. This is where you become upset. Wait a minute, that's toxic masculinity. Wait a minute, don't tell me what to do. But how do you really protect somebody without giving any parameters? You can't really do that without being a danger to yourself. So this is what you want, and I'm not saying you have to want that, but if you want the protection, it's going to come with a few things that you may not like. Then you want the guy to provide. A lot of women are talking about, hey, I want somebody who's going to provide. But then you want to be totally ahead of his job. You want to be totally ahead of everything that he's got going on in his life, all his work, all his hard work, all the things that he's got going. You want to be the person who's getting 100% of his attention. You like, why are you putting that job ahead of what I want? But then when bill time comes, you're like, why aren't you providing for this family? So a lot of times that's why you're not getting the masculine man that you're looking for, because you're not doing things to make it work the way you want it to work. If you want to have a masculine man, you got to understand that it's going to be about everybody following the plan of who you decided should be the leader. Now, if you don't want a dude that's a leader, then you need to take that off your list of masculine men. When you say, hey, I want a masculine man, don't put leader on there. Put cooperator. So when he asks you out on a date, then you should be like, hey, where do you want to go? And we get together and we decide where we want to go out on this date. And you need to accept that and be okay with that. If you don't want anyone to tell you anything because you don't want them to protect you in that way, then you got to take protector off the list. You got to take protector off the list. You got to say, I don't necessarily want you to go jump on that burglar. We jump on the burglar together, or I jump on the burglar. So that means I can tell you where you can go as far as safety is concerned, but you can't tell me because I jump on that burglar. If somebody try to accost you in the street, that's me. If somebody get out of pocket with you, I got that. Now, let's be real. Most women not signing up for that. If he say something to you, if that man say something to you, I got you, babe. I'm going to knuckle up with him. Come on now. Let's be real. So that's what you got to realize. Like, are these the things I want in a relationship, in a man? Is these things that I think are important for masculinity? And if I do, then I got to accept them all the time. So I'm reading some of these comments in here. And the thing is, like, I guess one of the biggest pushbacks you get is how men plan things and whether they're planning things for the group. Yeah, I mean, the part of leadership, because a lot of women want to be leaders too. They want cooperative leadership. So they want to be the person to plan this or plan that, which is fine. You can do that, but it's probably going to be dictated to you by him if you want a guy that's a leader. Now, if you want to be totally cooperative leadership and you like, yo, when we get together, we both should have an equal say in everything, well, then that means that you guys have to, that's the kind of man you have to get from the beginning. What a lot of women like to do is get a masculine man and then turn him into a not so masculine man, then resent him for that. So I'm going to get this real masculine dude because that's what I like and that's what I'm attracted to. But for the long term, that gets on my nerves. So I'm going to try to morph him into someone who's less masculine by your own standards. Who's less masculine by my standards, and then think I'm not going to resent him. So we're going to go into providing. If you want someone to provide for you, then you have to understand that their ability to provision has to be high on the priority list. You can't get with somebody that you want to provide for you and then be like, yo, I want you to provide for me, but I don't want you putting a lot of time and energy into work. Put that time into me. You get what I'm saying? It can't go like that. All right, so who's got questions for me? Who's got questions? Make sure y'all hit that super chat feature. If not, I'm about to get on out of here. If you got questions for me, this is a good time to ask them because, hey, I answer questions live on the air. Who else has any questions? Hit the super chat. That is the cash symbol at the bottom. Hit that super chat feature. I'll be on here for a few more minutes for y'all to be able to do that. Also, man, if you on here, make a like. Hit a like. Hit that like button. Doesn't cost anything to hit the like button. We're going to do another poll while we're waiting. Who wants to be married one day? Answer that on the poll. Who wants to be married one day? This is something that I want to know. And just for giggles, what do you think is the best movie you ever saw about relationships? Like the most real best movie you ever saw about relationships? Yo, if you guys got questions, hit that super chat feature. You got to support the chat, bro. Support the chat. I'm over here giving y'all this free game. You feel what I'm saying? So if you got questions you want to ask, support the chat. That's how y'all keep me doing this. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to keep doing it. So make sure y'all support the chat. We can get some of these questions in here and I start hitting those on the fly, and y'all, a lot of people just even in the background, I learn a lot. I heard about this Wanderlust. I never saw it yet. I've heard about it, but I never saw it. It's about a married couple that starts swinging. Wow, that's crazy. I think you're going to, well, the reality is you did see a lot of that a long time ago. Swinging isn't even a new thing, but I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that kind of rolling back around again. Just because I think the institution of marriage has become so convoluted as time is going on that you're going to see a lot more untraditional styles of marriage. People are going to start doing everything, not just same sex and all that. I think you're going to see way more stuff going down. It's just going to be like, I think it's going to be crazy. All right, so before I get out of here, because everybody did show up, I know everybody didn't hit the super chat. I'm going to hit one question and then I'm going to get on out. Let's see. I'm going to randomly pick somebody. Okay, Pina Colada. How to get a masculine but not over the top man. If you want somebody that's, well, it depends on what you mean by over the top. Hey, what's up, Natasha? Thank you, appreciate you. How to get a masculine but not over the top man? Well, it's always going to depend on what you consider to be over the top. You got to be real with yourself about what you consider to be over the top, because masculine is what is going to be up to his little interpretation. So you got to look at all the things that you want from a man and all the things that you see as being masculine traits. If you say, I want a dude that's masculine, then you got to write down the masculine traits, not the situations like, I want a guy that's going to pay for dinner. No, what does that mean? I want a guy that's going to provide. So you got to put that down there. I want a guy that's going to make good dates. Okay, cool. You might say, I want a guy that's going to, I consider masculinity to be a guy that wants to help out with the family. Okay, cool. But you got to look at every trait that you want in that person, and you got to expect it to exist consistently. If you want somebody who's going to be just as into the kids as you are, then you can't be like, hey, I'm going to take off work so I can go to this piano recital. You need to work to make sure we get these bills paid. You got to understand it's going to be like maybe more of a 50-50, where either you both take off and the bill doesn't get paid, or you go to a piano recital, then they go to one. You see what I'm saying? So whatever it is you're looking for, you have to understand that there's going to be a certain amount of consistency, whether you like it or not. So when you can't say over the top whenever it just doesn't suit you. Write down on a piece of paper what you want from a guy and what you consider to be masculine. Don't write the situations. Just write, these are static things that I want from a guy. And when his behavior matches up with that, it's not over the top and you need to accept it. That's pretty much it. Then you won't feel like you're with somebody that's over the top. All right. If we don't have anything else, I'll give you guys 3 or 4 more minutes to hit the super chat, and then I'm out. I'm over here reading some of these shows and movies. A lot of y'all on this Netflix. I actually like The Ref and Wedding Crashers. That is a good relationship movie. I think Wedding Crashers is a good relationship movie because it really talks a lot about, especially for young guys, and I think women too. But it talks about what makes people stand out in particular situations and why certain people get certain things and other people don't. It's kind of one of those things where, a lot of movies are really sad sack and they're like, oh, people should just love you for you and all that crap. But a movie like Wedding Crashers is like, hey, this is why people like certain people and not others. Live with it. Medea Goes to Jail. I saw that movie. I don't remember that much about it, but I saw the movie. Okay, Natasha, you say, I don't think there is a movie out there that represents a good relationship. They're not as many as there used to be, I'll tell you that. So I can see why you feel that way. Polyamory is making a comeback. What's up, Philly Loves Chaz? Do you think a couple can stay together if the wife and the mother and the mother-in-law really get along because they have very different personalities, really don't get along. Okay, so Philly Loves Chaz asks, do you think a couple can stay together when the wife and the mother-in-law don't get along because they have very different personalities? Yes, that's the short answer to that. Yes, I've witnessed that happen multiple times, even in my own family. Yes, the thing that has to happen there is there has to be a mutual respect, especially on the daughter-in-law's end. You have to give a mutual respect. You have to go out of your way to try to make sure that you're not disrespecting the mother, that you're doing everything you can to extend the olive branch. Also, you have to show that you are as best as you can be for the son. So you can't be out here talking about the son to your family. You can't be out here doing things that are detrimental to the son, like kicking him out the house and stuff like that. You can't have a bunch of ups and downs and expect his mother to like you. Just like your mother probably wouldn't like him. Just like your dad probably wouldn't like him. So yes, you can make that work. But that's what the daughter-in-law has to do. And then the son has to make sure that he's checking his mom on the way that she's dealing with his woman. After, once we've established that you're treating the mom with respect, you're doing what's right for the son, because you can't expect somebody to defend you against somebody who's defending him. So you can't be doing the man wrong and then his mom jump out in his defense and you go, why don't you defend me? Because she's defending me. That's just like if we get into it and you start beating my ass and my mama jump in and start swinging on you and you like, why don't you defend me? My mama is whooping your ass for me. Thank you, mama. So you got to make sure you're doing your part. And if that's happening, then the man has to step up and make sure that he is dealing with his mother properly. Like, hey, mom, this is the person that I chose, whether you agree with it or not, whether y'all get along or not, that's cool. But ultimately, this is the person that I chose. You need to accept it, and you need to treat her with the respect that she deserves as my woman. Because for some of y'all guys watching this, when your family disrespects a woman who's treating you right, when your family disrespects a woman who has treated you with nothing but respect, that you love and that you've presented to them as somebody you love, that is disrespectful to you. That shows what they think about you. So you bring your girl and you like, yo, this girl has been good to me. She's done this in my life. She's done that in my life. And their answer to that is F that girl. Well, that's disrespectful to you. Oh, here's what I'm going to do for everybody who came to the chat today and stayed on. As y'all know, I got a $9.99 sale for videos right now for the master classes. I'm going to go ahead and do a 50% mark off so y'all can get them for $5. I'm going to do that, put that coupon in the chat session for y'all to be able to get that for $5. All right, get it today because it's not going to last. I don't want nobody being mad like, oh, well, I looked and I tried to get it. And look, it'll be up for like 24 hours. So make sure y'all get that and go ahead and make those purchases. So that's on there. So also, anybody else got something for Snap? Use the super chat feature if you have a question. I'll be on here for a couple more minutes because we do got some people contributing to the chat, so I'm gonna stay on for a little while longer. Make sure you hit that super chat feature. If you just want to support, go ahead and hit the happy face and send me a sticker. Some of the videos y'all want to check out, Cold Hearted Game. If you really just want to know a lot about how the game works and what to do when people break up, What to do if you get left behind like Kirk Cameron. If you want to know what to do in those situations, Cold Hearted Game is great. If you've been in a situation where you've been chasing other people, you never seem to be the person getting chased. You need to never seem to be the person getting what you want out of relationships. You never seem to be the person who's in the power position. How to get them to chase you. That's a really great masterclass. These all are broken down and they're really comprehensive. There's a lot of information on all of them that you can really put down and use. Most people who get this, they constantly tell me how well they've been doing since they've been getting those master classes. Also, I have something that I don't talk about as much, but if you're trying to build self-esteem, I have a whole bundle for that, an inspirational bundle where I talk about, getting up from rock bottom, resuscitating your self-esteem. If you've kind of been broken down quite a bit, if you're coming out of a bad relationship, if you've been dealing with a lot of rejection, if you've been dealing with a lot of issues on the job, because this is something that's really happens nowadays too, is the job can break you down, bruh. The job can be soul crushing. That's something that, because now people have to switch jobs so much, it's not like back in the day when you used to be able to work at the same place for 30, 40 years. Now you're probably going to be somewhere 5 years tops. So because of that, the job is soul crushing for a lot of people. Dealing with a bunch of new people and a bunch of new situations and trying to figure out where to go from there. Check out the inspirational bundle. You can really get a lot of information about dealing with that type of situation, job stress, just finances going downhill, family shitting on you for no reason, whatever your situation might be. No problem, Philly loves Chaz. Great name, by the way. Great name. I'm going to say it again. Let me shout out some of the people who I see in here. Tish Experience, always coming through. I see you. Ender Wiggin, actually see you sometimes. I think you're on here more often. There's a few first timers in here. But, much love to all of y'all. All right, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes if somebody does want to ask a question. And then we out. Go ahead and hit that super chat feature if you got something you want to ask me. I know some of y'all do, and you probably have. You're like, I've been wanting to ask Chaz this. This is your chance. Who's dating out here? Who's actively dating? Hit the thumbs up if you're actively dating. Let me check this out. Hit the thumbs up if you are actively dating. Oh yeah, the coupon is over there in the chat section. So make sure you get that if you want to be able to get a masterclass for $5. You can go in there and buy as many as you want. I'm not putting a limit on it or anything like that. I'm just out here showing love. So if you want to be able to buy as many as you want, this is your opportunity. So look, when they go back up again, don't be saying, Chaz, man, why is this so expensive? You had an opportunity to buy it and you didn't. All right. We got to take accountability. Hit those like buttons. Before I get up out of here, hit those like buttons. All right, I got a couple more minutes on here and then I'm out. I'm going to stay for a few more minutes for people who want to go ahead and put something out there. You want to hit the chat, the super chat. Let's see, since somebody did hit it, I'm going to do another random question. It could be you. Who do we got? I'm going to give everybody a chance. Hey, put a question out there if you want to ask one. I'm going to answer a random one. I'm just going to pick one and answer it. See who can type fast. If you hit the super chat, then I just hit you first. Right, I give y'all like a minute to do that. Okay, seriously dating one person. Ah, you jumped everybody, Alfred. What's up, man? How do you get a girl to cooperate with you respect-wise? That's a good-ass question, Alfred. I'm not going to lie to you. How do you get a girl to cooperate with you? Well, you might want to, you got to write this down probably because there's going to be some steps to it. All right, number one is going to be a presentation, Alfred. What do I mean by that? How you start with a woman is almost always how you finish with a woman. Your granddaddy might tell you that. Friends might tell you that. Even a pimp will tell you that. How you start with a woman is how you finish with a woman. This is true for men too. But how you start with a woman is going to be how you finish. So if you want a woman to cooperate with you, the first thing you have to do is establish the fact that you are somebody to be cooperated with. So when you first meet this woman and you first start talking to the girl, you have to make sure that she recognizes that you have a plan. So when you meet and y'all do something together, you got to know where you want to go. You got to know what you want to do on that first meeting. Otherwise, you're going to start off shaky. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so that's what you got to start with is presentation. Then you have to lay out the plan. All right. When I say lay out the plan, you got to show that you have direction in your life. So a woman not going to cooperate with you when she say, well, what do you want to do with your life? And you're like, man, I'm just, taking it day by day. Just one day at a time, player. If that's what you're doing, then there's nothing for her to cooperate with. There's nothing for her to follow. So she's not going to be on that. Period. Then you have to follow up with action. So once you've laid out your plan, you got to follow up with action. So whatever it is you're trying to do, if you're like, yo, I'm trying to get a house in the next 2 years, then you should be doing things to get you a house. You should be working, making money. You should be building your credit, whatever it is that you need to do to get you a house. Now the woman, if she is a cooperative person, because you can't get somebody to cooperate who's just completely uncooperative. You got to get rid of them. But if she's a cooperative person, then she will cooperate because you're doing that. Because you're doing the things that you talk about doing. Then you need to be consistent. Consistent. This means that you can't go to work on your credit for a week or two, and then stop doing it and talk about you going to get a house. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, bro. So you got to be consistent. And then you have to be considerate. So no one's going to let you lead them down a hole. No one's going to let you lead them in a way that is only beneficial to yourself. Nobody's doing that. So you have to make sure that she understands that you have the best interest of both of you at heart. So like, yo, this is my leadership. And I'm leading for both of us to be able to win. I'm leading for both of us to be able to have success. And I'm also leading for our family and our grandkids. You have to let her understand that it's about more than just y'all even. Like, yo, this is our legacy. The reason why people get involved in anything, like, think about this. People join cults. A lot of men talk about women not being cooperative and how you can't get a woman to cooperate. But people join cults. And those cults, in some cases, even ask the person to drink poison Kool-Aid. This has happened. Why do people do that? Because people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Now, some people don't take it to that extreme, obviously, but people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Why do people root for a basketball team? Why do people watch particular celebrities and follow every move they make? People want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. People want to be a part of something that they feel is important. This is why people protest. This is why people join activist groups. This is why people give money to charity. People want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So when you present yourself to a woman, it has to be a plan that's larger than life. A lot of guys say, man, why don't women want average guys? Because most of the time you coming up with an average plan that only exists 2 days out. Oh, well, I'm just trying to get something to eat. If you want a woman to cooperate, you have to show her a plan that's bigger than anything she could imagine, that also goes further than what she would have thought of. So it's like, this is an empire that we building, babe. And it's not just about me. It's not just about you. This is about our kids, our grandkids, our great-great-grandkids. We're about to change everything for our family. We're about to be whatever generational curses we dealt with, we're about to be the ones that break them. When people talk about what changed our lives and what changed our family lineage, it's going to come back to us. We're going to be them pictures that are on the wall at everybody's house when they talk about grandma and grandpa and how this is when our family legacy changed. It's going to begin with us. When this is what you talk about and then you actually follow through on it, when you have a real plan laid out and you follow through, it's not going to be very difficult to get somebody to cooperate with you. Now, like I said, some people are uncooperative. Some people wouldn't cooperate with anything. Some people you can be like, look, we got some food over here for you to eat. I'd rather starve. You got to get rid of that type of person. But that's how you get somebody to cooperate. That's how you get somebody to follow your plan. That was a good one. All right. I'm going to go with Natasha Love. Why are we having this gender war, even though deep down we love each other? Well, that's a good question. Well, first of all, the gender war is profitable. The gender war is extremely profitable. Just like race wars, just like class wars, they are completely profitable, extremely profitable. The gender war makes people spend more money. See, if we break up the men and the women in the household, now we have two households to support, which means you got to buy double everything. Also, it creates a family structure that's weakened. When the family structure is weakened, this gives the government, this gives the media, this gives people far more control over the children and over what people do. When you have a family structure that is weakened, where people don't really feel like they're going to be a part of the family structure for a long period of time, people don't get each other's back. You have no community because you have no family. That's a good thing when you want to have control over people. So what we end up with as far as the gender war is concerned is we have people who don't really see a benefit in being together. We have people who don't really see where it makes any sense to help the other sex. And then both people feel attacked. Think about what you see even when you watch YouTube most of the time. Most of the time is a man talking about how women are at fault for all the problems in the community, in relationships, or it's a woman or a man talking about how men are at fault for all the problems in relationships and in the community. And the reason why people do that is because it's way easier to get a group of people saying yes and amen and only challenging people who wouldn't be watching you anyway than it is to challenge both people and say, hey, here are things you could work on and here are things you need to work on. It's like when old boy, when Alfred just said, hey, how do you get a woman to cooperate with you? I put most of the stuff on him and said, here's what you can do. Now, most of the time you call into a show and you say, how do you get women to cooperate with you? What they're going to generally tell you is, oh, these women ain't going to cooperate with nobody no matter what. It don't matter what's going on. They're not going to cooperate. They don't care about cooperating. They all just, want to take pictures on Instagram and show their ass and, eat hot Cheetos and dog dudes out. That's what you're going to hear most of the time. But what I'm telling you is anytime you want change, whether you're a man or a woman, it generally begins with you. If you want a man that's going to be more masculine, if you want a man that's going to support you and going to provide for you, well, then you got to be somebody to provide for. Nobody's going to provide for you if you at the strip club getting money thrown on you. You know what I mean? You got dudes over here making it rain on you. Why would he provide for that? That's you making money doing that. So it makes no sense for the man to provide for you. You got a million other dudes providing for you. And then you get surprised because the only type of guy you seem to attract is guys who want to go to the strip club and make it rain on these chicks. Why is it that every guy I get with want to go to the strip club and make it rain? Well, you throwing your ass up on Instagram and then you got Cash at Me in your bio. What do you expect? If you want to throw your ass up on Instagram, that's cool. Do your thing. Enjoy yourself. Ain't no big deal. No problem. But you got to understand that you're going to attract the person who likes that. Which means if they like it from you, they like it from somebody else. You can't say, hey man, stop liking these Instagram pics of these chicks with their ass out when you got pictures with your ass out that other dudes are liking. You gotta be real with yourself. And as a man, you got to understand the same type of thing. You can't be like, oh man, I don't want to have to do nothing for a woman. I shouldn't have to provide anything. And then you get mad because she cheat on you with a bum. Man, I can't believe she cheated on me with this Chad and Tyrone. And well, she cheated on you with somebody who wouldn't be able to provide for her, wouldn't be able to do anything for her. You can provide, but you never do. So what did you expect? What are you mad at, bro? Just something to think about. Accountability for men and women. Accountability. You got to be real with yourself and start understanding the fact that most of what you're going through in life is at least somewhat contributed to by your own behavior. At least somewhat. If you don't have what you want, this is where I make these master classes. I got so many guys that go, man, these girls ain't checking for me. And I make a master class like how to get them to chase you. Plenty of people write back to me and say, man, I used everything in this and I've been getting these girls left and right. Those people paid like 60 something bucks for it. I put it out here for $5 and yeah, people buy it, but there's a bunch of people who don't. And you know about it. But you mad Women too, that you can watch the same thing. Man, I'm tired of chasing these men. I'm tired of these men not wanting to really be with me. I got Mastering Attraction. People pay $70, $80 for it. It's out here for you for $5. People get it, but it's people who don't. Accountability. Is a person right here who just asked a question on Super Chat that they could possibly use that information to change their life situation. They asked this question for $2. It's people that's on here right now that got burning questions. You could have put $2 in and had it answered. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I was like, hey, here's a limit. So I mean, man, my dad used to always say, be an active participant in your own rescue. A lot of people don't get what they want out of life because you're not an active participant in your own rescue. You want somebody to tell you why you're down and how it's somebody else's fault. You want somebody to tell you all the reasons why you can't get what you want. You don't actually want help. There's a lot of people, you know, it may be some of y'all, but a lot of people don't really want help. They just want somebody to tell them why they can't make it, why they can't get what they want. If you want to get somebody, if you want to get a top-notch person, first you got to start out by being top-notch yourself. They wouldn't be top-notch if they made bad choices. I tell ladies this all the time too. If you want to be a top-notch, if you think men ain't shit, that's probably because you ain't shit. I'm just being real with you. Because that's the only type of dude you can attract, or that's the only type of dude you can choose, or that you choose. There are good dudes out here in the world. Now, you may not be getting any of them. They may not be checking for you, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. You can't sit here and say there are no good men in the world when the only type of dude you date is a guy who really isn't interested in you and got a million options. And you don't put yourself in a position where you could be his best option. It's not that he's a dick. It's not that he ain't shit. It's just that it doesn't make sense for him to give you what you want. Now you're mad. There's no good men out here. There's good men out here. You just don't want that person. You just don't want that person. There's good men out here. But there's good men out here, but some of them don't make a lot of money. Some of them don't drive the nicest car. Some of them aren't tall. Some of them don't have muscles. Some of them are bald. But there's good men out here. Now, if they are good men but don't fit, if they're good men but they don't fit the things that you want or are looking for, that's understandable. But you got to make sure that you fit the things that the people that you want are looking for. You get what I'm saying? So if you say, well, I want a dude with a six-pack. Well, what do your body look like? Be real with yourself. When the last time you went to the gym? Be real with yourself. Be real with yourself. If you feel like it's a certain money amount that a dude needs to make, well, how much do you make? And if you don't make a lot of money, you feel like, okay, well, that's not what I bring to the table. What do you bring to the table? Could you have a conversation about money? Could you? Do you know which fork to use at a dinner party? Do you? If not, you got to ask yourself the question, how do you connect with somebody that's got money? Doesn't make sense. And fellas, the same way. You want a woman that's going to be feminine. You want a woman that's going to be on your program. You want a woman that's going to defer to you, but you don't have a plan. You don't even know where you're going to be in the next 5 years, but you want somebody to follow you. Come on now. That doesn't make any sense. You don't know where you're going to be tomorrow, but you want somebody to follow you. That doesn't make any sense. You can't be decisive. You can't even protect somebody in your own family. That woman doing everything you asked her to do, and then your mom start cussing her out. You can't even protect her in your own family. You can't protect her against your mom. Your mom 5'2", 103 pounds. You think she feel like you're gonna be able to protect her against 250-pound Bill over here? And then also be real with yourself. You're supposed to be a provider and protector. Do you know any martial arts? Are you physically fit? Do you take care of yourself? If not, how are you going to provide? How are you going to protect her? You going to catch a body every time somebody does something? So a guy comes up to her a certain type of way, you're going to be like, when you step in, you're going to be like, I'm going to catch a body? I'm going to kill somebody over it? Come on. So you gotta look at yourself too. Like, what do I really bring to the table? Or do I just want somebody to like me just because it's me? Would you want your daughter to date somebody who is anything like you? Just be real with yourself. And I'm not talking about like your personal stuff and whatever things you got going on in your life. I'm just talking about like if we look at your resume, would you want your daughter to date somebody like you? I'm just saying. These are things we need to think about. What you're getting out of relationships is generally a reflection of what you're putting into relationships. It's generally a reflection of what you bring to the table. It's generally a reflection of what people think about you on the marketplace. That's what's up. Thanks, Philly Loves Chaz. You know, you just got to be real about where you are on the marketplace. Don't give me men ain't shit, women ain't shit, everybody's a narcissist and all of that. I'm so tired of people saying that crap because this is your assessment of someone based on the way they treated you. But you're not being real about the fact that maybe you are just not of high value on the market. And you need to start working on that. Get yourself up there in the marketplace. The market dictates. You know, you can't open up a hamburger shop and be like, man, these customers ain't shit because they're not buying your hamburgers or because they only want to pay 50 cents for your hamburgers. Well, they think your hamburgers suck. They're not valuable. People don't want to buy them. It's not the customer's fault. That's your fault. If the customer throwing trash all over the ground, how does the establishment look? You know, when I used to be a police officer, they taught us about this thing called broken windows. It's like the broken windows theory. Basically what it states is there's a far greater likelihood of crime in places that have broken windows, in places that are in disrepair. So it's like if you got trash on the street, then the crime is generally going to be a lot higher than in a neighborhood that's clean. Now, obviously you can say, well, trashy neighborhoods or poor neighborhoods are more likely to be like that. But even when they looked at neighborhoods that were in a similar economic group, the differences still showed. The differences still bore out. It said if the neighborhood was nice and it didn't have a lot of broken windows, the neighborhood was cleaned up, then crime was a lot lower because criminals generally felt like people care about this neighborhood. So I'm not going to come in here and mess it up. I say this all the time. Vultures are attracted to rotting flesh. That's what scavengers want. So if you got people that are constantly trying to pick off of you, if you got people who are constantly trying to use you and get over on you, it just may be because you're dying. You don't look like somebody who's taking care of themselves. You don't look like somebody who has much to bring to the table. You don't look like somebody who is living their best life. I'm just saying, something you might want to think about. All right. Thank y'all for coming out. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel so y'all get notifications. Also, hit that notification button because you might be missing videos that come out. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button. It's your man, Chaz Ellis. Go to ChazEllis.com and get those masterclasses that I just told you about. Peace.